Well, after the raving success that was the RS revision guide, we've decided to do some more. So, I said I would, but this is the Lord of the Flies Part 1 English Literature Revision Guide. And yeah, it's not going to cover the whole book or all the questions that you're going to get asked on it, but hopefully it'll cover a good chunk of it, and I think it's a good little quick burst of revision that will hopefully help. So the first thing we're going to talk about is mankind's essential illness. So that's it's like the embodiment of the whole book. That's the message the book is trying to get across. It's about mankind's essential illness, and if you don't understand now when I say mankind's essential illness, you've got a bit of a problem. Not you've got a problem as in like you're retarded or anything, just you're gonna have a problem with the book, because it's Simon who really coins that phrase, as far as I'm aware, about mankind's essential illness, because he understands it. He understands that mankind's essential illness, I'm just popping into shot there, is the human nature and mankind and how the society works. And he uses the phrase when they're talking about the beast. He said, what I mean is, maybe it's only us, maybe we are the beast and we've created the beast and we're ruining ourselves in a way. So I just put beast at the top because the mankind's essential illness is the beast, and the beast is human nature. It's how we operate, essentially. And now we're actually going to talk about Simon as a biblical figure. Now, the whole book has so many biblical references. I mean, you think of the island of sort of like the Garden of Eden and things like that, but Simon represents Jesus in so many ways. He's actually physically like Jesus. He likes a lot of time on his own. He goes to that sort of meditation place in the middle of the forest. He has a message and he makes prophecies, and when he tries to deliver his message, he's actually sacrificed, like Jesus is on the cross. And when he dies, he floats away in the water, and all the water turns silver, how it reflects with the light around him. It gives him this sort of holiness that you don't get with the other characters. So that's an important thing to mention. Simon's like Jesus. He's like Jesus. He's not actually Jesus. That's a key thing to remember. Alright, so now we're going to talk about the Little Uns, and they play a bigger role than you think in the book, because they always say that society, and the whole book is about society, and society are judged by how they treat the weakest. So a lot of the time that's the children, or if you want to use an example of the UK, it's how we treat the unemployed or those on benefits, etc. So you'd say the UK as a society is a great society. You might disagree for one reason or another. You might say that's the reason why we're a bad society, but that is actually true, and they treat the little ones awfully. So you could say they're a really bad society, and because you've got the hunters who, like Roger, who throws stones at them, and they just generally just leave them, and they say they're filthily dirty, and that's just not good. Now I move on to the conch, and the conch is a symbol. It's one of the many symbols in the book, and it's used as a sort of a symbol of order, because they find it straight away, and it's a symbol of the island. And that's a brilliant drawing of a conch. It looks more like a hedgehog, but obviously they use it to speak. So it's like, if you can't speak unless you've got the conch, and as the conch starts to lose its value and what it stands for, that's when the island goes into real chaos, and you start to lose that sort of order. But anyway, now the relationship of Ralph and Jack. And the relationship of Ralph and Jack is a really interesting one, because it develops and then just completely erodes inside itself all through the book. So it goes up and goes down. They start off obviously at loggerheads, because they both want to be chief of the tribe, so to speak, of the island, and Ralph wins, and Jack sort of respects that, and he says, okay, well, can we be hunters? And he says, yeah, and he gets put in charge of the hunters. So you could sort of say like a manager and assistant manager sort of thing. He's got put in charge of the reserves, so to speak. But Jack's absolutely crazy, as I say there, and Ralph isn't actually always good. He sort of follows Jack a bit. They sort of respect each other, have a mutual respect, until Piggy dies, and then it really sort of goes. But as I'm going to draw this quick graphic, they sort of gain more and more respect for each other until they push that boulder down the hill, and they just sort of they're loving life, and that's when they become friends, and they just sort of click. But then certain events take obviously with the tribe splitting, takes their friendship down to sworn enemies. So that's a really interesting one. If you get asked about a character relationship, or specifically Ralph and Jack, then you've got some stuff to work with there. Now on to some more general tips for the exam, and these aren't put together by the exam board or anything, these are just by me, all this is just by me, just off my head. But the first tip, which, these were all really key, but it's a, come on, move my arm. You'll never be asked to write as a dead person, so obviously you might get a character question where it's write as Ralph at the end of the novel or whatever. You'll never be asked to write as a dead person, so if you're going to prepare for one of those questions, don't write as Simon or Piggy or anything like that, because they die, so, spoiler, but well, you should have read the book by now, but don't write as one of them. Obviously Simon isn't actually Jesus. You'd be surprised, some people in our class, so is Simon Jesus? No, don't write that Simon is Jesus. You can write that Simon represents Jesus, or he's a Jesus-like figure, and that'll get you the most recognition. And finally, I think I'm right in here. Yeah, well, it's not finally, but Patch or Mark, or whatever we call the character with the thing on his face, he isn't real. That's not his real name. He's real, but don't call him that, because the examiner won't get that. I know Mrs. Mates has told us that, but just don't do it. And there is no real beast. The beast does not exist as an actual embodiment. The beast is a figment of the children's imagination. It's created to scare them and to keep them in place in the end by Jack, and that is mankind's essential illness. If you take only one thing away from this video, mankind's essential illness, keep that phrase in your mind, because that's the one that's gonna help you get through the exam. Simple as that. Mankind's essential illness. If you understand that, you will do well on the exam. So that's the end of the guide. Stay tuned for more, and go over to stewmercerrevision.wordpress.com.